Hey everybody, I know it's been a minute since one of our videos have come out, but no time like the present. Um, we've been getting ready for a big camping trip to Zion National Park in a couple weeks, and we've been anticipating that it's going to be pretty hot there, so we've been trying to figure out a way to keep our camper cool. And so we thought, hey, what's a better way to keep our camper cool than to figure out our air conditioning system? So up to this point, we've had a Dometic Penguin 2. It's a 110 unit that we have been able to run off of our 600 amp hour battery system using our inverter. And with that system, we can run the unit for about 5 or 6 hours straight, which isn't too bad considering that unit pulls, anywhere from 1500 watts, 120, 30 amps at a time. That's a lot of power to be pulling from your batteries all at once. It's really not great for the battery system, and you just deplete your system really quickly and you can't use it for anything else. So we were trying to figure out a better way to cool the van, especially since we have our dogs, to keep cool when we're not there. And so the past couple years, a lot of companies have started coming out with 12-volt air conditioners. Air conditioners that can run off of 12 volt instead of 110 AC power, making it a lot more efficient. You don't have to have an inverter. You can run it straight off your battery, and therefore you don't lose that power when you convert it into AC power, etc. It's a lot more efficient. So I started looking around, and after doing some research, I came upon this company called OutEquip. And I reached out to them, and they were willing to send me a unit for a review. And so the following video is an installation and a review video on this unit. It is an OutEquipPro, 10,000 BTU cooling, as well as 4,500 BTU heating. So it does heating and cooling. And I just wanted to put that in and compare it to the 110 unit, and see, is it in fact more efficient? Does it cool as well? Our other older unit does not heat, so the heating in the new unit, is a bonus. And let's just go for it and see what we find. Hope you enjoy the video, and I'll put a link in the description below where you can find these units, and hopefully you guys get something out of this and enjoy. Thanks. All right, guys, so when OutEquip ships you the OutEquipPro 12-volt air conditioner, these are all the components that will come shipped in the box. I took everything out and kind of laid it down on our table here. It is raining here in Santa Fe for once, so I kind of decided to bring everything inside and show you what we're looking at here. So here obviously we have the air conditioner itself. This will be the indoor unit that you see on the ceiling with all the air vents and obviously the LED control system here that you will be able to change temperatures on, as well as the remote. And then over here is all the installation pieces. You have a nice little remote here, as well as detailed instructions. Comes with all of the literal nuts and bolts for the install, as well as the ceiling gasket here, as well as some leveling foam here for the back of the unit, just to level it out on the roof of the RV so that it sits flat and you don't have any leaking. This is interior foam
to help insulate the interior of the RV. This is the wiring for the unit, which will connect here. So in total, you have about 15 feet of cord here, 6-gauge wiring. If you need to add more, you can add up to 5 feet of 6-gauge cord wiring, excuse me. But they recommend no more than adding no more than 5 more feet if you need to. And these 2 bars will help kind of hold the unit from underneath the ceiling and kind of hold it underneath the kind of sandwich the AC unit from the ceiling underneath of it to keep it tight to the roof so that doesn't go anywhere when you're driving. As you can see, the unit itself is pretty slim. It's just over, I think, 6 inches tall. And then I believe it's about 28 inches in width. And then another 28 inches in depth. All right, guys, so before we go any further, I just wanted to introduce you to the beast in which we will be putting this air conditioner on. This is a 2002 Shinook. These were built in Yakima, Washington. This is a one-piece fiberglass unit. Something that they don't build anymore. They stopped building them in about 2005, I believe. But it's very important to me. And I'm really excited to finally have one in my hands. And yeah, it's become a nice project for me, and we're excited to install this new 12-volt air conditioner on such an awesome unit. Alright guys, so here we are inside of my Shinook. I just kind of wanted to show you my electrical system as well as the current AC that's installed. I'm going to turn it on and show you the amount of energy that it already uses when it's on so that we can compare it once the OutEquip is installed, and just show you the benefit of using a 12 volt versus a traditional 110 air conditioner, so that you might, want to make the change yourself. So as you can see, here is my control panel. Hopefully you can see that without a significant glare. I'll try to get a better angle here. So currently my battery is at 80%. I use a Victron system. I have 600 amp hours of Battleborn batteries, lithium. I'm currently not getting any solar because I'm parked under a carport, so no solar right now. Here is the current AC unit. It's pretty big. It does stick down from the roof, about 2.5 inches. The new unit is pretty flush compared to this, and it's probably only going to sit down about a 1/2 inch or so, which is also pretty exciting for some better headroom. My electrical components are down here. There's my big inverter, 3,000 watt inverter, charge controller, and DC to DC charger as well, so I can charge off the alternator of the van. And then all my batteries are under here. You can see 1, 2, but they're kind of stored way back there. Kind of hard and out of the reach, but you get the idea. And I'll be wiring up to those. So next we will start this air conditioner, and we'll kind of get an idea of the power draw. Hopefully we can actually get it to kick on, because it's pretty cold in Santa Fe after we just got some rain and some hail. But we'll see what we can do. Let's turn the inverter on. Inverter only. Okay, let's try that again. We'll go over here. We'll turn on our air conditioner. And now, there we go. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention how loud this, okay, let's silence that. How loud these air conditioners are. So, inverter just kicked on the air conditioner. We're pulling 1,000 watts so far. Low voltage alarm just went off, which also happens. Because it kind of shocks the system and causes the voltage on my batteries to drop very quickly down to like 12.5. So pulling 1,000 watts. I don't know if you can see that. It might be kind of hard to see with the reflection on everything, but it says it's pulling 108 amps currently. So as you can see, running a regular air conditioner off a 12-volt system is possible, but the batteries definitely don't like it, and it's not something you can do for very long. Granted, I have a 600 amp hour system, which is pretty large, but you know, it's still not going to run forever. Currently pulling 118 amps, 19 amps. 1,200 watts. 78 decibels. That's pretty significant. I'm not sure what the new one's gonna produce, but I know it's significantly less than this. So, more to come on that. Alright team, so here we are in the van. Just showed you some of the parameters that the old air conditioner was running on in terms of power, how loud it was, etc. Kind of supporting a lot of the reasons why we're getting rid of it. So now it's time to uninstall this unit so that we can install the new unit. So yeah, that's what we're about to do. So here we go. So here comes the shroud. So in size comparison, it's let's see if we can see this on video here. So side by side, they're pretty comparable. Obviously the 12 volt one is a little bit smaller, but profile wise it's really no comparison. The old unit is much thicker, takes up a lot more space height wise than the 12 volt unit. So we're going to be gaining a lot more headroom when we install the 12 volt unit. All right team, here we are on the top of the van. About to take the old air conditioner off. This is the Dometic Penguin 2, I believe. Problem is this thing weighs about 100 pounds, so I'm just alone here, so hopefully I can manage to take it off its spot and put it out here on the deck area. I will wait until I have help to take it off the roof of the van, but plan is to just get it out of place so I can start prepping the roof and putting on the new air conditioner. of our hole. A little messy, but I wish whoever installed this did a little bit of a cleaner cut. So, definitely not the prettiest, but overall not too bad. So I'll clean up the edges here, and this is where the gasket will go. I'll seal around the gasket, and then after that you pretty much just plunk down the unit. So alright guys, here we are on the roof. Got the old unit off, cleaned up the roof as best as I could, and now I'm about to put the gasket down. Sorry if it's a little noisy up here. It just started to pour rain and I'm under a metal roof, so it might be a little loud for you guys. I'm sorry. But yeah, putting down the gasket, and then once I get that on, I'm gonna go around and seal the perimeter of the gasket with this. It's pretty much just a general kind of like a flexible caulking that goes on, you know, gutters or roof, flashing, things like that. Just picked it up at Home Depot. Nothing special, but it should be plenty for what we're doing here. So let's get it going. Alright guys, so after about an hour of waiting for the weather to cooperate, we just got like, I don't know, half an inch of hail. It was insane. Managed to get the air conditioner up on the roof. Don't ask me how I did that. So yeah, time to get it put in place and see how it fits. I'll do this semi-gently so that not sure where I'll end up putting these permanently, but temporarily you get the idea. So that's the unit sitting flush. Looks pretty good. Alright, so I think where I left you guys, I had put the unit up on the roof. And now here we are on the inside, just taking a look. It fits pretty well. I didn't have to do any more cuts to the roof. It pretty much fits perfectly in the 14 by 14 hole that was already here. So the next thing that I'm going to be doing is taking the extra foam that was given to kind of put up in here in this space to kind of block any more airspace, and then I will be kind of cinching down the unit with these pieces here. Oops. And these will kind of squeeze the unit in between the roof and the ceiling of the camper to keep it in place. So I had to cut these down a little bit. I cut about 3/4 of an inch off on each side to make them fit in the my little cutout there. So next I'll be installing these. Alright, next I'm going to be taking these longer bolts and installing with the smaller thread up into the unit first and the longer thread downwards. You see there's these brass fittings that are in the AC unit that these go into.
Tightening first. There's 4 total.
Alright, now I've tightened down all the bolts. Yeah, I use they send you 2 lengths of these bolts here. I ended up using the longer bolts because the shorter ones just weren't long enough to be able to extend the reach here. So, but now the longer ones are, now that I've tightened everything, they're probably going to be extending too long here. So I'll probably have to end up cutting the tips of these off in order to get the faceplate on. But now it's nice and tight on there. You can see up in here that it's really compressed that air gap here. So there's really no way for the hot air to be seeping in here. Everything's real tight. It's definitely not going anywhere. So now we're going to be taking down these wires. Well, once I trim these bolts, taking down the wires and connecting it to the plate here. And then the last thing we'll have to do is wire everything up to the battery, and we should be in business. Alright, let's see if I can do this without destroying my camper. Alright, in terms of wiring this, all these little connectors, they can only go in one place. They can't connect into any other spot, just in terms of how they connect. So it's pretty much foolproof. You can't mess it up, basically. So that's what I'm going to do next, and then we'll get it all screwed into place. Alright, day 3, here we go. Up on the roof now, it's time to get all the electrical hooked up. So we've got the unit installed. Now I've been trying to figure out where the best way to get the wiring through the roof of the camper is. So I think I'm going to be bringing it over here. This is just a thin little piece of fiberglass here that used to be where the top of the old fridge was. So I think I'm going to be going in through this. I drilled a little pilot hole here to make sure all was clear on the inside. I'll be making a 2-inch hole here in order to fit this bigger connector through. And then I've got this, it's a marine style entry gasket that you can custom fit for pretty much any style of wiring. So I'm going to be using this to cover that hole, and then yeah, hopefully all works as planned. Alright, so this took way longer than I wanted it to, but we are done up here. We finally got the wires through the roof. Ended up having to cut through the plastic here in order to actually get all the wiring and everything through. It just wasn't working the way I wanted to because of how big the fitting is at the end of the wiring. It just wasn't fitting through this hole here. So ended up having to kind of jerry rig it, which I'm very used to doing, unfortunately. So I will end up having to just put some sealant over this crack and probably over the rubber gasket a little bit. But overall, it's in there. It's not really going anywhere. It's pretty solid. So yeah, time to wire it up to the battery, and hopefully that's easy as pie and we're good to go. Alright everybody, so from the inside the wire comes in, and I had a really hard time, but I was able to get it tucked in behind the wall and connected here, and the wire runs behind this wall, comes in where all the other wiring is, back behind the inverter, and then ultimately back in through here and connects to the battery, positive and negative back there in that mess. So next we turn it on and see how it works. Alright folks, I think we're finally done after like 3 long days. Typically I don't think the install would take most people this long. I had some weather setbacks. I tried to be really meticulous in my install just because I was really trying not to take my whole van apart, but I was also trying to really hide my wiring, and you know, that can be hard when you've got a lot of things already put in place and you're not trying to disassemble everything to make it work. So my install took a little bit longer than I think it would have to, especially if you're like in the middle of or in the beginning of one of your builds, a van build or a camper van or something like that, and you're doing, you know, the AC in the beginning of your build. It should be really simple. So with that being said, it's installed, it's hooked up, it's ready to go. So I think it's time to let it fly. Here we go. Alright, so the van's been sitting out in the sun for a little bit. As you can see, it's 79 degrees, almost 80 degrees in here right now. When I reset the battery on everything after hooking everything up, my battery percentage kind of went haywire, but it's approximately at about 70-75% battery right now. So we're going to start it up and see how many amps wattage it pulls and go from there. So I've got my handy dandy remote here. We're going to kick it on and put it on turbo, and we've got the temp set as low as possible. Alright, so I just heard the compressor kick on. So see the watts climbing up. We're about 500 watts, 23 amps. So yeah, definitely cold air blowing right now. I've got it set to 63 degrees, and this is as loud as it's gonna be, I guess. The fan is on as high as it will go. It's ridiculously quiet compared to the old unit, like insanely quiet. I'll pull up my app that I used before for the decibels. So 62 decibels as compared to about 78 or 79 decibels on the old one. Much better. So I'll let this thing run for a little bit. We started at 79 degrees, and we'll see where my thermostat gets to after a few minutes. Okay, 19-20 minutes in, dropped to 73-ish degrees, so about 6 degrees different. Pull in, still like 300, sorry the glare is brutal, 375 watts. Pretty decent. And I have kept this whole front cab open. Typically I would shut these blinds here, which really helps maintain temperature, but I just kind of wanted to stress the unit and see how it did. So, but really impressed so far. It's super quiet. Just makes it a lot more comfortable in here when the AC unit's on. Before, with the old Dometic, if you were in here, you basically had to yell at each other for a conversation. It just was not a comfortable, environment. So this is definitely a game changer. All right, guys, there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it kind of explained the difference between the traditional 110 AC powered air conditioner and the new 12 volt units that are now coming out on the market. Little bit of a longer video. My goal in this video was to really show a detailed instructional video on how to install these units, as well as what goes into powering them, as well as the power consumption behind them. So hopefully that's what you guys got out of it. So would I recommend this unit? Absolutely. I think it's going to be a game changer for us, especially when we're off grid. I think in terms of cooling down the space quickly, I don't think it will do as good of a job as the old unit does. The old unit's blower fan was much more powerful, so I think it cooled down the space quicker. However, just in terms of longevity and being able to run it longer, this OutEquipPro is going to be much more useful. It's going to be much more efficient. I'll be able to run it longer, and I think I'll just have to be aware of turning it on maybe earlier in the day when the outside temperature is a little bit cooler, so that I can maintain a cooler temperature in the van overall throughout the day, rather than waiting for the van to be 100 degrees inside before I turn it on. Other than that, I don't see any other real drawbacks to the unit. I think it's going to be very beneficial for what we intend to use it for. The heating aspect of the unit, I haven't really been able to test yet. I tested it a little bit one cool night. It definitely heats up the van, but again, we're not in the middle of winter here, so time will tell with that. I anticipate it not being a primary heat source. Maybe something that's useful on like cool fall mornings, waking up, it's a little chilly in the morning. But I still plan on probably using our propane heater as our primary heat source in the van. So again, hopefully this video was helpful for you guys. Hopefully you learned something. Link in the description below on where to find these units, and yeah, get out there, start exploring, and enjoy your summer. Thanks so much for watching.